Matt Hughes like a submission, and it's all over! It's all over! Matt Hughes with a submission victory! Bang! Armbar over! Matt Hughes is once again the welterweight champion!
Matthew Allen Hughes is a retired MMA fighter who became the UFC champion in the welterweight division at 2 different times. He defended his title 7 times in a row, defeating all the available championship contenders in his division. During his career, he gathered an impressive record of 45 wins and 9 losses, which he finished 21 of them by knockout and 14 by submission. In this video, we will go over all his finishes during his fighting career and how he reached the top of the MMA world. Matt Hughes' first finish was against Victor Hunsaker in Extreme Challenge organization. Hughes was expert in wrestling and used it to dominate his opponents. In this fight, Matt was the better fighter, and in the second minute he took Victor down and connected with a lot of punches while being on top, which made the referee to stop the fight. Next in line was Joe Stern. Right at the beginning of the fight, Matt took Stern down and transitioned to half guard and eventually mounted him. Once he had the mount position, Matt kept connecting with punches until the referee stopped the fight. Hughes fought Joe Dorksen next. Matt took Joe down in the first few seconds of the fight and stayed on top for the entire round while connecting with the strikes. Right at the beginning of round 2, Matt had Joe in a seatbelt lock and connected with a knee and a left hook to the head, which made Joe tap for Matt to win via technical knockout. After finishing Joe Dorksen, Matt fought Tommy Schmitz on the same night, but the fight was stopped in the first minute because of an eye injury of Schmitz. Matt fought for the 3rd time on the same night. His next opponent was Laverne Clark. In the first round, Clark took Hughes down and was on top for the majority of the round until Matt reversed the position and connected with some good punches at the end of the round. Right at the beginning of round 2, Hughes took Clark down and eventually took his back and made him tap via rear naked choke. Matt fought Jorge Pereira next. Matt dominated Pereira for the entire fight. He took Pereira down and was on top for the entire time while connecting with elbows and punches until in the 6th minute the doctor stopped the fight because of a huge cut on the eye of Pereira. Hughes fought in Super Brawl next against Eric De Villa. Matt took Eric down in the first round and had him in side control for the entire round. In round 2, Matt again took Eric down and mounted him. In the 4th minute of round 2, Hughes attempted a Kimura from the mount position, which made Eric tap immediately. One month later, Matt fought against Sean Peters. Right at the beginning of the fight, Matt took Sean down and mounted him. He stayed on top until in the 3rd minute he tried the triangle choke from the mount position, which made Sean tap and ended the fight. After finishing Sean Peters, Matt fought in UFC next. His debut was against Marcelo Aguiar. Matt used his wrestling experience to take Marcelo down from the very beginning of the fight and stayed in Marcelo's guard for the entire round while connecting with a lot of punches and elbows. Matt's strikes opened up the face of Marcelo and the referee was forced to stop the fight for Hughes to win via technical knockout. For his next fight, Matt went back to Extreme Challenge to face Joe Geist. Although Joe was a great submissioner, Matt kept taking him down and was connecting with lots of strikes. In the third minute of the fight, Matt took Joe down and was able to submit him via an armbar. Hughes fought in Rings USA next. His opponent was Robbie Newman. Right at the start of the fight, Robbie pulled guard on Matt while having him in a guillotine choke. Matt kept his cool and eventually transitioned to side control while Robbie held on to the guillotine. After a minute of inactivity, the ref stood them up. As soon as they were stood up, Hughes took Robbie down and had him in side control. He tried a triangle choke from the side control and was able to submit Robbie and win the fight. Hughes' next finish was against Barrett Al-Azawi in Rings USA. Matt took Barrett down right at the start of the fight and dominated him for the entire time. In the fourth minute of the fight, Matt had Barrett in a side control and was able to submit him via an armbar. Matt's next finish was against Chad Lavender. Matt kept taking Lavender down and was on top for the entire fight. In the third minute of round 3, Matt took Lavender down and mounted him. Few seconds later, he was able to submit Lavender by a triangle choke from the mount position and end the fight. Hughes went back to UFC to fight Carlos Newton for the welterweight championship belt. Carlos was an expert in jiu-jitsu and Matt knew he would have a hard time to submit him. In the first round, the fight was spent on the ground while both fighters kept changing position and tried to score with the strikes. In the second round, Matt took Carlos down and was in his guard when Carlos tried a triangle choke which made Matt to lift him up and smash him to the canvas. Carlos' back of the head hit the canvas first and knocked him out, which made Matt to become the UFC welterweight champion for the first time in his career. To defend his title, Matt fought against Hayato Sakurai next. In round 1, Hughes kept taking Sakurai down and stayed on top for the entire round. Round 2 and 3 went the same way. In round 4, Hughes again took Sakurai down and eventually mounted him. In the fourth minute of the round, Matt kept the pressure by ground and pounding Sakurai from the mount position, which made the referee to stop the fight for Matt to win his first title defense by technical knockout. Matt had a rematch with Carlos Newton for his second title defense. In round 1, Carlos tried to take Matt down, but Matt used his wrestling experience and came on top. Hughes kept Newton in half guard and eventually had him in side control while connecting with lots of strikes. Round 2 and 3 were the same. Matt dominated Carlos for the entire time. In round 4, Hughes took Newton down and eventually had him in crucifix position while landing with a lot of strikes, which made the referee to stop the fight. For his third title defense, Hughes took on the wrestling expert Gil Castillo. Matt took Castillo down from the very beginning of the fight and stayed on top for 5 minutes while connecting with his ground and pounds. In the 4th minute of the fight, Matt and Castillo had a head collision which opened up a cut above the eye of Castillo, and this made the referee to stop the fight at the end of round 1. Matt's next finish was against Frank Trick to defend his title for the 5th time. Trick was excellent at wrestling and tried to take Matt down at the beginning of the fight. Matt used his wrestling experience to stay on top, and in the 4th minute of the fight, he took Trick's back and was able to submit him via rear naked choke. After finishing Trick, Matt lost the belt to BJ Penn and went on to defeat Renato Verissimo to get another shot at the belt against George St. Pierre. Matt took George down in the 3rd minute of the fight and had him in side control until George tried the Kimura from the bottom, which Hughes answered with an armbar submission. This made GSP to tap for Matt to become the UFC welterweight champion for the 2nd time. To defend his title, Matt had a rematch with Frank Trick next. In the 2nd minute of the fight, Trick connected with a knee to the groin of Hughes and the referee didn't see it. Hughes was in pain and Trick was able to take him down and mount him. Trick took Matt's back and had a chance to submit him, but Matt used his wrestling experience to turn around and lift Trick up and drop him to the canvas. Matt mounted Trick and connected with lots of strikes. Frank gave up his back and Matt used the opportunity to submit him via rear naked choke. Matt's next title defense was against Joe Riggs. In the 2nd minute of the fight, Matt took Riggs down and was in half guard when he tried the Kimura. Riggs tried to get out of the submission, but Matt transitioned to side control and was able to finish the submission and win the fight. Hughes' next title defense was against the undisputed Royce Gracie. Royce was an expert in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Hughes knew he would have a hard time to submit him. In the 2nd minute of the fight, Matt took Gracie down and had him in side control when he was able to lock Gracie in a crucifix position. Royce gave up his back, which made Matt to connect with lots of ground and pounds, which made the referee to stop the fight for Matt to win by technical knockout. Now it was time for Matt to fight against BJ Penn for the 2nd time and avenge his loss. Round 1 was uneventful as Matt tried to take BJ down, but he was unsuccessful. In round 2, Matt was able to take BJ down and was in his guard when BJ used his jiu-jitsu experience to take Hughes back and tried the triangle choke from there, which Matt was able to defend, and the round was ended before Penn could end the submission. In round 3, they got into an exchange while standing and eventually Matt took BJ down past his guard and was able to trap BJ's hand in a crucifix position. Matt kept punching BJ's Penn's face while BJ had no answer, which made the referee to stop the fight. Hughes' next finish was against Renzo Gracie, who is a black belt in Judo and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. In the first 2 rounds, Matt tried to take Gracie down, but Gracie used his Judo experience to keep the fight standing. In the 3rd round, Matt kept connecting with punches and leg kicks until in the 5th minute, he landed a vicious combination which put Gracie down on the ground and ended the fight. Matt fought Ricardo Almeida next. In the 3rd minute of the fight, Matt landed a heavy lead left hook on the chin of Ricardo, which stunned him. Matt went in and tried the anaconda choke, which made Ricardo go unconscious and ended the fight. This was Matt Hughes' last finish in the octagon.